Happy evening to all. I take this opportunity to welcome you all on behalf of Hetero Healthcare. My name is Rajamanikam, working as a Senior Sales Manager of Hetero Healthcare, Helian CNS Division for South. First of all, I am thanking you all for joining us today to discuss on this topic, usage of lasmeriton in the treatment of migraine. As you know about Hetero Healthcare, we are the largest R&D wings and having more than 360 molecule solution provider, more than 25 years of experience and excellence in multiple therapies, currently present in more than 26 plus countries worldwide, more than 200 products across various therapeutic categories such as HIV, AIDS, oncology, cardiovascular, neurology. Distinction of bringing 4 biosimilar products to the market and 36 plus state-of-art manufacturing facilities pioneering in the quality and innovation. Today, we have with us as chairperson, moderator, Dr. Ajit Cherian, additional professor, Department of Neurology, Sri Chitra Institute of Medical Sciences and Technology with us. And his areas of interest are epilepsy, electrophysiology, movement disorder, clinical neurology. His major achievements, it is numerous. 152 publications in national and international journals and multiple book chapter citations. It is nearly 2000. And cumulative impact factor is having 619, one of the highest. And the high index is 20 and high index is 37. And to his cap, much winner of Tournament of Mindset World Congress of Neurology, Italy 2021, and runner-up at Tournament of Mindset World Congress of Neurology, Canada 2023, winner of MDS AOS Virtual Synergies and Leadership Course 2021. And Dr. Ajit Cherian is a winner of multiple travel bursary awards from International Movement Disorder Society, especially from countries like Spain, Denmark, Philippines, Korea. And he's been awarded the best young neurologist by the Times of India on Doctors' Day Conclave 2021 on July 1st. And British Medical Journal Award as Best Medical Team in Asia 2015. The Sri Chitra Tirunal Institute of Medical Sciences and Technology epilepsy team got it. It includes the speaker today, Ms. Divya KP and Dr. Ajit Cherian. And Dr. Ajit Cherian is winner of Young Scholar Award International Course in Pediatric Epilepsy, Venice, Italy in 2012. And Neurology India Best Paper Award at 63rd Annual Congress of NSI 2014. And much more to tell about Doctor. And you will be surely knowing when he is presenting and sharing this session. Now, it is time to introduce our speaker, Dr. Divya KP. She is a associate professor in Sri Chitra Tirunal Institute of Trivandrum Medical Sciences. Areas of interest is movement disorder, headache, clinical neurology, epilepsy, and electrophysiology. She had more than 132 publications in national and international journals, including multiple book chapters and citations, around 583 specifically. Cumulative impact factor is 298.84 and I index is 22. Her major achievements as a doctor, winner of MDS Leadership Course LEAP 2022. She is winner of Tournament of Mindset World Congress of Neurology 2021 and runner-up in 2023. Winner of MDS AOS Virtual Synergies and Leadership Course in 2021 and winner of multiple travel bursary awards from International Movement Disorder Society and Neurology India Best Paper Award at NSI in 2016. NR Iyer Gold Medal in MD Medicine at MG University and WSS International Sleep Medicine certification to her accord. And now over to you, sir. We are eagerly waiting for your session. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rajamanikam, for your introduction. So I would like to say something more about the molecule and the speaker. So lasmeritin is one of the new breakthrough drugs as far as the management of headache is concerned. So it is been approved for the acute management of migraine attacks. We have a few drugs in the armamentarium. How to place this new drug? That is what we are looking into, and where to place, and how often to place. So that is the question to be answered here. And you cannot get a better speaker than Dr. Divya KP for this endeavor. Uh, uh, Most of you know her. She's an astute clinician and a good human being. That's how I will put her. So over to you, Dr. Divya. So we are eagerly waiting to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the kind words, and thank you for having me today for presenting about this new molecule called lasmiditan. So in the next few slides, we'll be trying to place where lasmiditan stands in the treatment of migraine. So we'll be looking at where lasmiditan stands in the treatment of migraine as of today. So lasmiditan, as you all know, is a serotonin 5-HT1F receptor agonist indicated for the acute treatment of migraine with or without aura in adults. So coming to the headache conundrum. So those of us who suffer from migraine are well aware what a havoc it can cause. There are a wide spectrum of manifestations from a headache to vestibular migraine to pain over multiple parts of the body, which is called the peripheral migraine. So this is what I would like to start with. So sometimes even God gets a headache. So we need to know how we need to treat migraine because it causes a significant disability. One of the most common neurological diseases worldwide is migraine, with a global prevalence of estimated to be 1.1 billion cases in 2019. The prevalence is higher in females than in males across all age groups. And as we know, the risk factors for migraine include insomnia, depression, anxiety, gastric ulcers or GI bleeds, angina, epilepsy. All these can coexist with migraine and have a significantly higher number of migraineurs compared to control group when we look at the general population. So coming to what is the data that is available for migraine in India, people in India, about 211 million people are found to be suffering from migraine, of which 25% of patients turn up for treatment. 75% of the patients will not turn up for treatment. And when you start treatment, almost hardly 50% of them adhere to treatment, and most of the patients end up having only acute medications and they do not take any sort of prophylaxis. So if you ask any patient coming to you with any other disease, he may be having a coexistent migraine, just a travel sickness, and multiple other headaches. They will even deny that they have migraine. But when you ask for several histories, you may find that they in fact have migraine, which is a very commonly prevalent condition. So directly we move to the management of migraine. What is the current management of acute migraine that is available? The first line medication includes NSAIDs, predominantly acetyl salicylic acid, ibuprofen, and diclofenac potassium. The second line medications are triptans. When triptans provide insufficient pain relief, we can combine them with fast acting NSAIDs. That acts as a very good combination. And currently, we have the third line medications, which include the DTANs and the GPANs. And then we have the adjunct medications for nausea and or vomiting, especially the prokinetic antiemetics, especially domperidone and metoclopramide. So we'll look at each of these one by one. So the acute treatment, as we said, are the NSAIDs. So which are the NSAIDs we generally use? If you look at them, most people end up using paracetamol. As we know, there are people who abuse on paracetamol. So the recommended dose for paracetamol in adults is almost like 1,000 milligrams. And that is a high level of indication for from the EAN as well as AN. So the number needed to treat with paracetamol is actually high. It is almost 12. But looking at the prevalence, there are many patients who use paracetamol for their headache. Now, the next set of NSAIDs which are more effective and have a better number to treat is aspirin at a dose of 900 to 1000 milligram, diclofenac 50 milligram, and ibuprofen 400 to 600 milligram. So these all can be given orally for acute attacks. And as we all know, the side effects with this include GI bleeding, renal failure if abused for a long time or taken in the more than and a very high frequency. If it is taken on a regular basis, it can have these adverse effects. The second set in the acute management of migraine is definitely triptans. We know which are the various triptans that are available. We have the almotriptan, elytriptan, frovatriptan, naratriptan, risatriptan. So if we look at these triptans, so as a group, they are the triptans constitute the 5-HT1B1D agonists. So what they actually do through the 1B, the 5-HT1B receptors, they actually cause a vasoconstriction. They cause an intracerebral vasoconstriction through which they act in migraine, and also they have an effect on the 5-HT1D receptors through which they have an effect on the peripheral modulation of pain as well as the other central pain pathways. So that is how the triptan acts. The triptan is a 5-HT1B1D agonist as opposed to the DTANs, which are the 5-HT1F agonist. So these are the various triptans that are available. Now we have the almotriptan, which can be given orally at a dose of 12.5 mg. Elytriptan, which is given at 20, 40, 80 mg. Frovatriptan and naratriptan. So if you look at the numbers which are needed to treat, so as a class, all these things produce vasoconstriction, and you can have the common side effects which include the coronary heart disease, cerebrovascular disease, uncontrolled hypertension, and peripheral vasoconstriction. Now, if we look at the number which are needed to treat, you see elytriptan has a very favorable number to treat, that is 3.7 milligram for 80 milligram of elytriptan. That is, if 4 people are treated, you get a benefit. So that's a very good effect that is seen with elytriptan. Our elytriptan is not available for our youth. So this is the next set of triptans that are available with us. That is risatriptan. So orally, if you look at it, oral risatriptan 10 milligram, the number needed to treat is 3.1. And if you use the oral disintegrating form with 10 milligram, it is 3. So that shows how effective risatriptan is as a molecule for migraine. So oral we have the disintegrating forms, the mouth dissolving strip formulations. We have the tablet forms, which are the mouth dissolving forms, all of which are available. So these have a high level of recommendation from EAN as well as AN, and they are having a very good number to treat, showing that they have a very good effect profile. The next molecule is sumatriptan, which we have the intranasal sumatriptan, and also the oral and subcutaneous formulation. The subcutaneous formulation, the number needed to treat is even lower, 2.3, as opposed to 4.7 with 100 milligram of sumatriptan. So of the available ones, definitely risatriptan has a very good effect profile and is a very good agent for an acute migraine attack. The subcutaneous sumatriptan is generally because if the mouth dissolving form of any of these medications is available, that's a good one. And stands next to people who are having a higher body weight or who cannot tolerate risatriptan, can also be taken for sumatriptan. Then we have the zolmitriptan, which is available as an intranasal spray. It can be given intranasal or you can spray it into the oral cavity. They also have a good number to treat of 4.6. Now, the advantage here with zolmitriptan, which is available as a spray, is patients who cannot tolerate oral medications, like when they have profound vomiting or people who have very profuse vomiting at the onset. There, instead of giving the oral formulations, which can also be thrown up, you can give a nasal spray or an oral spray into the buccal cavity. You can give the intranasal preparation or the spray preparation, which will be more effective in those kind of patients. So from this, you can use risatriptan, sumatriptan, or zolmitriptan. If a patient cannot tolerate one triptan, he can still be benefited with another class of triptan. So resistance or intolerance to one triptan doesn't forbid you from using another triptan. So amongst all these choices which are available, you can use one triptan for another. Now, the caution or a contraindication, definitely, as we said, comes with people who are in the elderly population or people who run a risk for coronary artery disease, or we know that they have a coronary artery disease, uncontrolled hypertension, peripheral vascular disease. You have to be cautious while using a triptan. So triptans are advocated for attacks of moderate or severe headache intensity. And when you administer triptan, the drug is recommended while the pain intensity is still mild. So it will be advisable to take the drug when the pain is just starting, or if the person has an aura, you can take it immediately as and when the aura comes, you take the mouth dissolving preparation. So then you can abort the headache phase of the migraine attack. So as I said, what if a patient has failed on one triptan? You can use other triptans which can still be beneficial. We know many, even amongst us, have found that the risatriptan, sometimes they have an intolerance to risatriptan. then they may be better off with sumatriptan or vice versa. So those are well known victims. And some patients can have chest tightness following triptan. Now, does it indicate an acute coronary syndrome? Necessarily not. So we advocate usually patient who are, if you are suspecting, if you are taking triptan for the first time, you can try 5 milligram of triptan, rizatriptan, and then if they cannot, they are having any, they are able to tolerate it well, you can take 1 more 5 mg or you can take 10 mg. So some people can have acute chest tightness, and there's no need to be scared of those syndrome. It is not an acute coronary syndrome. Chest tightness without being an acute coronary syndrome is quite common with triptans. And it can also extend to the neck and sometimes to the abdomen. And these symptoms are rarely associated with serious cardiovascular effect. And in fact, though triptans, we always are told that they can precipitate cardiovascular events or cerebrovascular event. In fact, there is very little evidence for an increased risk of vascular events even in regular triptan users. So what are the challenges in the current treatment of migraine? So triptans are among the most commonly prescribed medications for acute migraine currently. However, they are contraindicated, as we said, in patients with cerebrovascular or cardiovascular disease. Now, another word of caution is when patients are already on selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors and serotonin norepinephrine reuptake inhibitors, because we know that many patients with psychiatric illness, with depression, can have coexisting migraine, or those with migraine can have a coexisting depression. So if the patient is on both of these medications, that is triptan along with SSRI or SNRI, there is a contraindication. In fact, you have to be cautious while using these medications in patients who have active depression and using SSRIs or SNRIs. And the use of triptans in episodic migraine has been associated with an increased likelihood of developing chronic migraine as well as medication overuse headache. If the patient continues to take triptans or NSAIDs, both of these can have medication overuse headache. And the medication adherence for the treatment of chronic migraine remains relatively low. So these are the challenges which are present in the current scenario. So when you're talking about medication overuse headache, so it is a secondary headache disorder which is attributed to a frequent use of analgesic or migraine-specific medications, which can be triptans, ergotamines, and less likely NSAIDs. An important consideration is that the regular overuse of acute medication is an indicator of suboptimal clinical management. So if somebody has to regularly use acute medications, that means your chronic therapy or your prophylactic therapy is inadequate. So triptans, opioids, barbiturates are associated with the highest risk of medication overuse headache, whereas off the lot NSAIDs, especially ibuprofen, have shown to have a lower risk of medication overuse headache. So next we are coming to the third line medication, that is DTANs and GPANs, which is of interest today. So these are the GPANs, which are the Rimi-GPAN and the Ubro-GPAN, which are available in the Rimi-GPAN is available as an oral disintegrating formulation, and Ubro-GPAN, which is available as an oral tablet form. Now these, though they have been newer molecules, however, you can see the number needed to treat are quite high as compared to whatever triptans or those medications which are available, and hence they have not actually clicked in, and it's not currently available as well. Though it is available at some parts, but it was not, the number needed to treat has been quite high. So finally, we are coming to the DTANs or the lasmiditan, which is available currently. So this is available in it was actually the studies were 3 strengths, that is 50, 100 and 200 mg. And it's an oral formulation. And if you look at the number needed to treat, why I'm emphasizing on the number needed to treat is because migraine is a very common disease. So this actually gives you a very good idea of how effective the medication is. So if you look at this, with 100 milligram of lasmiditan, the number needed to treat is almost 7.7 to 9.9. And with 200 milligram, it is 5.7 to 5.9. So that's still lower than triptans. But in that, it has an additional use that this can be safely used in patients who run a risk of vasoconstriction, because lasmiditan is a 5-HT1F agonist. It does not act on the 1B receptor, serotonin 1B receptor, and hence it is free of the vasoconstrictive effect that is present with the triptans. Now, however, the word of caution is with operating a vehicle or heavy machinery within 8 hours of drug intake. So people can have dizziness. So you are asked to refrain from driving a vehicle for the next 8 hours. And also the concomitant use with drugs that are the glycoprotein substrates and concomitant use with alcohol and other CNS depressants is not advocated. So what is the current global scenario for lasmiditan? It is approved by US FDA in 2019 and by the EMA in 2022 as a treatment for acute treatment of migraine with or without aura in adults. And lasmiditan is the first and only FDA approved ditan which is available, and there is a high affinity and a 5-HT1F receptor agonist. Now, lasmiditan is not indicated for the preventive treatment of migraine. It is for the acute treatment of migraine that it is available. So what is the mechanism of action of lasmiditan? We know there are multiple migraine triggers, which include stress, irregular sleep schedule, hormones, caffeine, alcohol, changes in weather. All of these can trigger migraine. Now, this acts through the trigeminal nucleus caudalis as well as the trigeminal ganglion, both of which constitute the trigeminal vascular system. And this releases CGRP, and also these have effects on the 5-HT1F receptor, through which there is a central as well as a peripheral neuronal activity, and also the CGRP, all of which lead to the multiple symptomatology of migraine. So in fact, migraine is not headache alone. Migraine in general is like a systemic disease. For those who have migraine will know that it is just a generalized systemic disease. It's calling it headache would be underestimating migraine. So as it has a predominant action through 1F receptor, lasmiditan acts at the 5-HT1F agonist, acts as a 1F agonist, and this directly inhibits the release of CGRP, and hence it prevents the symptomatology of migraine. It also inhibits the central as well as the peripheral neuronal activity, and hence it helps in the acute treatment of migraine. So lasmiditan exhibits high selective binding to the 5-HT1F receptor with an affinity of over 400 times, which is greater than that to the 5-HT1B and 1D receptors, which are the actual site of action of tryptophan. So why we are emphasizing that it has 400 times more sensitivity to 1F? So that you are trying to say that the vasoconstrictive effect is almost very low. So there, so what 1B, 1D, it's hardly acting. So it's predominantly at 1F. Its lack of affinity to these receptors is responsible for the absence of the vasoconstrictive effect, as the 5-HT1F is not present in the cerebral blood vessels. And due to its highly lipophilic properties, lasmiditan has demonstrated the ability to cross the blood-brain barrier and acts on the 5-HT1F receptors on the trigeminal neurons within the CNS, as well as those located more peripherally. So lasmiditan is a selective 5-HT1F receptor agonist. It inhibits the pain pathways, including the trigeminal nerve. It inhibits the release of neurotransmitters and neuropeptides, and it does not cause vasoconstriction of blood vessels. So what is the pharmacological properties? It exhibits a fast oral absorption. So that is very important when you are talking about drugs which have to have an acute effect on acute migraine. So this has a very fast oral absorption with an oral bioavailability of almost 40%. It achieves a high degree of binding to the plasma proteins, up to 60%, and has a half-life of 5 to 7 hours. So this is important in patients who can have a rebound migraine. So if you have something which has a longer lasting effect, some people can have a reduction in migraine, and after 1 or 2 hours, you can have a resurgence of migraine. So drugs which have a longer half-life may be more useful. So lasmiditan has a half-life of 5.7 hours, and increasing doses demonstrate a linear relationship between the dose and headache relief response. Lasmiditan is metabolized through both hepatic and extrahepatic medication mechanisms and is not significantly subject to the metabolism with CYP enzymes, reducing the possibility of interaction with other cytochrome-mediated metabolized drugs. So what is the evidence? What are the landmark clinical trials that have been there with lasmiditan? The efficacy and safety of lasmiditan has been assessed in patients with concomitant other preventive medications in the Samurai and the Spartan trials. These were the 2 randomized phase 3 trials with lasmiditan. So what did Samurai and Spartan trials look into? This was a randomized, double-blinded, placebo-controlled single-attack trials. Now, all patients had history of migraine for at least 1 year, 3 to 8 migraine attacks per month, and the MIDAS score, there's a migraine disability score of greater than or equal to 11, which at the pooled median was more than 25. And the patients had taken study drug within 4 hours of headache onset, where the pain was moderate to severe, And the dosing was 100 and 200 mg in the Samurai trial, while the Spartan, it was 50, 100 as well as 200 mg. So what is the migraine disability assessment score? This is called the MIDAS questionnaire. Now, this consists of 5 questions that focuses on the lost time. That is, what is the disability that is caused in 3 domains, that is school or work, household work or course, and that in the social, that is family, social, and leisure activities. And you look at the days of missed activity or days where productivity was reduced to at least half. And if the productivity is decreased to less than 50%, the day is considered as missed. Now, the MIDAS score is the sum of missed days due to headache over a 3-month period in 3 domains. So the total scores comes to 270. So the largest score is 270 and the lowest score is 0. And the 4-point grading system for MIDAS exists. That is the grade 1 where scores ranging from 0 to 5, that is little or no disability. Grade 2 where there is a mild disability. Grade 3 where is a moderate disability. And grade 4 where there is a severe disability, which is 21 or greater score. So what were the endpoints in these trials? The first endpoint was pain freedom, that is a complete elimination of moderate or severe headache pain within 2 hours. The secondary endpoint was freedom from the most bothersome symptom. That is, it can be either photophobia, phonophobia, or nausea, which is present at the time of treatment within 2 hours. So the freedom of the most bothersome symptom within 2 hours, and pain relief. That is not pain freedom, it's a pain relief, that is reduction in the migraine pain from moderate or severe to mild or none within 2 hours. So what were the results? So looking at the pain freedom, if you look at the percentage of patients who achieved pain freedom at 2 hours, so you can see that in the Samurai trial, 32% of patients achieved pain freedom at 200 milligram. So you can see this is the placebo. This purple is the placebo. This blue, light blue, this gray is actually 50 milligram. Blue is 100 milligram, and the other purple is 200 milligram. So if we look at it in the Samurai trial, actually 32% of patients achieved pain freedom with 200 milligram. And in the Spartan trial, actually 39% of patients achieved pain freedom with 200 milligram, and 31% patients achieved pain freedom with 100 milligram. So that's almost like 1/3 of patients achieved pain freedom with 150 milligram, and with 200 milligram it was increased to 39%, and in the Samurai it was 32%. So almost with 100 they had almost around 1/3 of patients having a pain freedom at 2 hours. And what is the percentage of patients who achieved pain freedom at 90 minutes? So that the previous one was at 2 hours and this is at 90 minutes. So you can see that at 90 minutes, it was at 100 milligram, it was 20%, and 200 milligram, it was 25%. And at 60 minutes, it was 9 and 14% respectively. So if you take a look, at 90 minutes, it was better. So as compared to 60 minutes, the pain freedom was much more at 90 minutes, and 2 hours, the pain freedom was almost to the tune of 30 to 32%. So it at least takes almost like 2 hours to get a good pain relief. So pain freedom is zero pain. That is, up to 39% of patients achieved complete elimination of migraine pain at 2 hours with a single dose, and some patients achieved pain freedom before 2 hours as well. Now, what are the results of the most bothersome symptom? So if you look at this, the most bothersome symptom, as we said, it could be either photophobia, phonophobia, or nausea. And this showed that the most bothersome symptom was reduced in 41% in 100 milligram as well as 200 milligram. So making it 100 to 200 did not change much in the make an effect in the most bothersome symptom. Now, what is noteworthy that even 30% of patients in the placebo group as well had an improvement in the most bothersome symptom. So as opposed to 30, they had a 41% had a improvement of the most bothersome symptom at 2 hours, which was significant. Now, what about the time to dosing? This was done as a post-hoc analysis, percentage of patients who achieved pain freedom at 2 hours based on the time to dosing. So this graph shows the time to dosing was less than 2 hours from migraine onset. And on the right side, we have time to dosing more than 2 hours to 4 hours from the migraine onset. So where the pain was moderate to severe. So both are moderate to severe pain. This side shows less than 2 hours and this is 2 to 4 hours. And you can understand actually when you take it less than 2 hours, the improvement in the with 50 and 100 milligram was 31%, and with 200 milligram, it was 35%. But after it is 2 to 4 hours, the effect comes down from almost 31 to 20 to 27%. So if you take the drug in the less than 2 hours after the onset of the headache, that will give you a better relief than taking it 2 to 4 hours. So there is another study which had looked into it is a Centurion trial which had randomized patients into 1:1:1 into 3 groups. And one of the treatment groups, that is lasmiditan, was given 200 mg, 100 mg, or a placebo for 3 attacks, and lasmiditan 50 mg for either the third or the fourth attack. And the primary here, a multiple attack consistency study was done. And the consistency was defined as achieving pain freedom in 2 out of the first 3 treated attacks. And these patients were enrolled in the study. And the primary endpoints was pain freedom at 2 hours with the first attack, and pain freedom at 2 hours in at least 2 or more than 2 attacks. And the patients enrolled in the study, again, had similar to the previous studies, had a history of migraine for at least 1 year, 3 to 8 migraine attacks per month, and have at least a moderate migraine disability, that's a MEDA score of more than 11. So here what happened, at 1 hour, if you see, 17% difference in patients who experienced pain relief with 200 milligram of lasmiditan versus placebo. And there was a 20% difference in patients who experienced pain relief with 100 milligram. So in fact, the 100 milligram of lasmiditan was better than 200 milligram in this cohort. And at 2 hours, if you see, 22% difference in patients who experienced pain relief with 200 milligram and 24% with 100 milligram. So in fact, in this group, it was shown that 100 milligram was better, had a better profile in terms of the pain relief at 1 as well as 2 hours as compared to 200 mg of migraine. And also there was fast migraine pain relief in 60 minutes with a single dose. So if you look at this, the difference from placebo at 1 hour, with 100 milligram, it was 20% and 24%. And at 200 milligram, it was 17 and 22%. So here, 100 milligram of lasmiditan fared better than 200 milligram. And what about the pain freedom in single attack? That is, after the consistent 3 attacks, it was given for 1 more attack. And it was found that there was a 10% difference in patients taking 200 milligram of lasmiditan versus placebo. And at 2 hours, 20% difference in those taking 200 milligram of lasmiditan versus placebo, and 17% difference in those taking 100 mg of lasmiditan. So more or less 100 or 200 mg. In some actually 200 mg did not fare as good as 100, and sometimes 200 mg was slightly better. So more or less making 100 to 200 mg did not achieve what we expected. So it was more or less zeroed in that 100 milligram is what you can usually you are going to use. So what about the pain freedom in multiple attacks? So at 2 hours, it was found that 23% of patients taking 200 milligram achieved pain freedom, and 14% of patients taking 100 milligram achieved pain freedom. So lasmiditan efficacy was consistent over multiple attacks in this trial, in the Centurion trial, which actually looked at whether it was consistently giving these results which were seen in the previous studies. So what is the result in an insufficient responder? There is patients who did not have a good benefit with triptan were tried with ditans, and at 2 hours it was found that 17% difference was found in patients taking 200 milligram of lasmiditan and placebo, and 14% difference in those taking 100 milligram of and lasmiditan. So it provides pain freedom at 2 hours in patients with insufficient response to 1 or more triptan therapy, or in people who were unable to take triptan. So even in people who did not respond to triptan, or those were unable to take triptan as well, lasmiditan was found to have a 14 to 17% benefit. So it's almost like one fifth of patients who do not respond to triptan may still respond to ditan. So summarize, the pain freedom was achieved maximally at 2 hours with lasmiditan. It provides pain freedom for patients with moderate to severe migraine attacks, even when taken later in the attack. That is, within 2 hours will be the best. But 2 to 4 also, 2 hours also, there was some effect which was better than placebo. Fast and complete elimination of the most bothersome symptom at 2 hours, especially nausea, photophobia, and phonophobia with a single dose. It can deliver fast migraine pain relief in 60 minutes with a single dose, and patients achieve migraine pain freedom at 2 hours with a single dose, and efficacy was consistent over multiple attacks, and it provides pain freedom at 2 hours in patients with an insufficient response to 1 or more triptan therapies and those who are unable to take triptan. So where does lasmiditan stand as of today? So definitely triptans are a very good option. We are talking about the triptans, which are a very good option, especially in the younger people. Also, when you are having a mouth dissolving form. So if you are using a mouth dissolving form, sometimes even in seconds to minutes you get the effect. So definitely triptans are, once NSAIDs don't work or in combination with NSAID, triptans are definitely the best bet. And in fact, according to the European Headache Federation, after triptan, it is the ditans which are given the option. And lasmiditan is a good bet, definitely, where you have patients who run a vasoconstrictive side effect like a cardiovascular or a cerebrovascular disease, or the elderly population where you anticipate there can be a risk of these cardiovascular side effects. There you can use lasmiditan. And also elderly migraineurs where you have an anticipated migraine attack like menstrual migraine, travel induced migraine, especially definitely when he is not a driver, because you cannot drive for the next 8 hours, you can be dizzy. So people are not driving, elderly migraineurs who are triptan non-responders, and patients who have prolonged attack duration or recurrent peak, as we said, because it has a long life of almost like 5.7 hours. So where you have a prolonged attack duration and recurrent peak, you can use lasmiditan. So that is where lasmiditan would stand currently in the treatment of migraine. So what about the safety? It can cause central nervous system depression like dizziness and sedation, as we said. And due to the potential for lasmiditan to cause sedation and other cognitive and/or neuropsychiatric adverse effect, so it is given as a caution that you do not drive, and also not use in combination with other CNS depressants or alcohol. And patients should be informed about the risk and advised against driving or engaging in heavy machinery or tasks which require complete mental alertness for at least for the next hours after taking lasmiditan. So you advise them not to drive or operate machinery for 8 hours after taking lasmiditan. So it's currently available in 2 tablet strengths, that is 50 mg and 100 mg. And in fact, there can be 3 doses, 50, 100 and 200 mg. You advise the patient to swallow lasmiditan as a whole. You do not split, crush or chew the tablet. And it is not advisable to take more than 1 dose in 24 hours. A second dose has not been shown to be effective for the same migraine attack. And whatever dose has been taken, it has a longer half-life. So you can give 50 or 100 milligram. Patients who do not respond to 50, you can give 100 milligram in the next attack. And generally, it is not advisable to give another dose in the same attack. And it is not indicated for the preventive treatment of migraine, but it is indicated in the acute treatment of migraine. So why is lasmiditan preferred over triptans or NSAIDs? We have been talking about it. So it is mainly because of the non-vasoconstrictive mechanism. It can be used in comorbid conditions, even when patients have cardiovascular diseases. It has improved tolerability, less likely to cause common triptan-related side effects like tightness, pressure, tingling sensation, or dizziness. It has a rapid onset of action. That is a pain relief at 2 hours, and improved treatment compliance due to the superior safety profile over thanks. So its efficacy in difficult to treat migraines, even in triptan resistant cases, you can give lasmiditan. And lack of medication overuse headache, that is lasmiditan when used as directed runs a very low risk of having a medication overuse headache, which is more common with triptans and less so with NSAIDs and ditans. So why lasmiditan? It has a unique mechanism of action. It's a 5-HT1F receptor agonist. Its efficacy in moderate to severe migraines, non-vasoconstrictive effects. It has an early intervention. It is better when you use it less than 2 hours, but it can still be used in the window of 2 to 4 hours. It has a rapid onset of action. It is well tolerated. It has no cardiovascular side effects. Lack of medication overuse limitation. It can be given as an oral dosing, and individualized dosing options are available. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Divya. That was very good. I think you have enumerated all the positive aspects of the molecule as well as regarding where and when to use lasmiditan. In fact, you have covered most of the questions that I have found in the chat box. So let me go through those questions one by one. So one was, where will you specifically advise people to use lasmiditan? So what are the conditions where you will specifically ask them to take lasmiditan? I think you have mentioned that in one of your slides. So I'll just highlight it. Patients who can actually anticipate a migraine attack, especially the classic ones are menstrual migraine, migraine associated with travel, provided you are not the driver, and elderly patients who have who are having some vascular risk factors. Uh, those are the patients for whom lasmiditan is most appropriate. Another thing is one common question that is often asked is, can you combine rizatriptan with lasmiditan? Yes, you can, because in fact, if you look at the mechanism of action, one is at 1D and the other is at 1F. So you are getting the best benefits of both. You can have a very rapid onset. Rizatriptan acts within the initial few minutes itself, mouth dissolving preparation, and then lasmiditan, it has a slow peak. So, but it has got a sustained effect because of its long T half. So one of the reasons why they had combined a triptan with a naproxen is because the triptan has a immediate effect, and then whereas the NSAIDs are slow to build up, but their action is more sustained. So you can also do the same with the triptan as well as with the ditan, lasmiditan, and where you have the rapid effect of a triptan, ultra rapid effect of a triptan, and the more sober effect and sustained effect of a ditan. So that is one way you can combine both. So I'm not able to see all the chat questions. So are you able to see? Yeah.
I think what has been your what has been the experience with the incidence of medication overuse headache in patients with lasmiditan? I think because lasmiditan is a newly available drug, I have not seen patients who are currently having medication overuse headache, but that depends on because we have just started prescribing. So we'll have to wait and see whether actually.
Yeah. For one to develop medication overuse headache, you should have an over-the-counter prescription drug for multiple days, at least for more than 15 days a month. So, and for many months altogether. So you should have that kind of a medication overuse to develop a medication overuse headache. So since this drug is quite new, we have not had that much of prescriptions of lasmiditan. We have not seen that many patients abusing lasmiditan. And in fact, this kind of prescription overuse or medication overuse headache is more common with ergot, because ergot caffeine combination with paracetamol is a very, very cheap drug. So many they are available in various terms, various names, DART, Migranil, and all those things. So they are very cheap drugs, and many pharmacists give it when a customer comes complaining of headache. And these cheap drugs, especially the ergot containing dihydroergotamine containing drugs, are the ones which are most often abused. The triptans are less often abused because triptans are much more costlier, and many pharmacists are actually reluctant to give it over the counter without a proper prescription. And ditans, currently, I think they are the least abused because the prescriptions are not that frequent. So, which are the specific scenarios that you have already covered? And how do you counsel patients? That also you have already covered. So it's all preferable to take it in the evening once you have completed your work, because to counter the sedation and dizziness which is associated with it. And one word of caution, in low, like if the total body weight of the individual is 50 or less, it may be wiser to start with a lower dose of plasmodietone of 50 milligram. So males who are weighing more than 60 kg, you can start with 100 milligram safety. So the dizziness and sedative side effects will be very much less. But for females, it is always better to start off with a lower dose of 50 milligram, and later on hike up if required. The same holds true for sumatriptan 85 milligram. Many females, thinly built females, do not tolerate the 85 milligram sumatriptan, which are available in various combinations like Snap-it and Headset. So there is a combination of 50 milligram with naproxen, which is currently available. So I always advocate them to take the 50 milligram sumatriptan with the naproxen combination. That is much more tolerated by the lightweight individuals and not the 85 milligram. Those are the people who get the chest tightness with 85 milligram. So it's for a female, if you're using sumatriptan, always go for 50 milligram. For males, they often tolerate 85 milligram. So what's the next question? Can I take
Can I take
lasmiditan
lasmiditan?
if I have a history of heart problems? Yeah, no issues. You can safely take lasmiditan. But if you have a very sustained, like if you are having if you are a person who have at least 5 or 8 headaches per month or more, I think botulinum toxin therapy is what I would suggest rather than anything else, because you should go for a prophylaxis, and botulinum toxin therapy is reasonable. I think it is pocket friendly currently. So rather than going for a frequent acute management, it's time that one takes a long-term treatment. And one should go at least for 2 shots of botulinum toxins separated over a period of 90 days to have the best effect. How do I take lasmiditan and what is the typical dose? That we have already covered. Don't crush the tablet, swallow it as one whole. How long will it take for lasmiditan? That is something which is a bit tricky, because if the impact of lasmiditan is not as rapid as you would expect for solmitriptan nasal spray or risatriptan mouth dissolving. If anyone of you have used these drugs, you will know that they are very immediately fast acting, remarkably quick onset, whereas lasmiditan is a bit slow on the uptake. So that is the thing. That is what differentiates it. So if you want to get the benefit of both the 1F and the 1D, you can easily combine a mouth dissolving with the lasmiditan.
And
So I
maybe
think-
you can also take NSAIDs with lasmiditan.
Correct. You can take an NSAID with lasmiditan. Correct. No issues. I think we have taken care of all the questions in the chat. If there are any more questions, we are willing to take them.
No more question came, sir.
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir. And thank you very much, madam, for your time and your scientific knowledge and your experience. You both are from the Premium Institute of Trivandrum, and you shared your knowledge. And most of the questions participants are asking that time, she is presenting the slide. So much of preparation has happened. That means actually. Thank you so much, sir, and madam, once again, on behalf
Okay.
of Hetero Healthcare. Thank
Okay.
you.
Once again, thank you, Dr. Divya, for the excellent talk, and thank you for organizing this one. So let's call it a day. Good night. Thank you very much.
Thank you.